Hello, hello. So I watched Louis Theroux's documentary on Netflix about the manosphere twice because it's a topic that's very important to me and I have a lot of thoughts about it. So I was trying to make a video talking about the idea of a viewer looking for advice from content creators, blah, blah, blah. And it ended up being this giant muddled thing. I worked on the script for a couple of hours and it just felt heavy and sloggy and too many big topics. It just wasn't working. First of all, it's kind of a heavy topic and a touchy topic with a lot of people. People who are in the manosphere, people who are super against the manosphere. It seems like to say anything substantial about it, you're going to get some hate, but you don't want to get unnecessary hate just because you didn't communicate clearly. So I was trying to be very careful in the things that I was saying, and it just felt very much like a chore. And what does that have to do with this channel? So it's like trying to pull it back to make it relevant to this audience. Then that started to feel salesy and not so genuine. So I worked on it for a while. It wasn't working. I thought I'd take a break. And maybe with a fresher head, I could find a better way to communicate what I'm trying to say. And then I realized I have so many other video ideas that I could talk about. I'm just interested in this thing right now, and therefore I want to talk about it and make a video about it. But again, this comes back to what I said in one of the other videos, being just because you're a fan of certain kind of content doesn't mean that you should create that kind of content, because maybe when you go and create that kind of content, you realize you don't like making that kind of content. You can be a fan without actually loving the process of production. On my break, I realized if it's feeling like such a chore, I'm probably not going to do a good job. And also, it's not really my place to say, like, that's not what the purpose of this channel is for. So maybe just leave it. Why am I trying so hard to say something that I find difficult to say and tell an audience that's not necessarily interested in what I have to say? Like, it didn't really make sense. When I saw it that way, I realized, I'm forcing this. And, why? Maybe there's something deep down inside of me that says work has to be difficult, work has to be a chore, work has to be frustrating. And now that I'm a creative person, I need to learn how to just say, look, I invent the rules for how my work should be to a certain extent. And if it's this much of a chore and this risky of a topic on a channel who probably won't appreciate the message, maybe I shouldn't make that video. And if I install this rule, hopefully that will save me in the future a few hours of wasting my time on a script that I'm not going to use, or even better, prevent me from publishing a video on this channel that doesn't really fit on this channel. So I just stopped with the idea. I was like, okay, just leave it. It's okay. It's okay to not finish things sometimes when you know you're not going in the right direction. And then I decided to move over to a different video idea, which is about the library. Suddenly, when I moved over to this topic, because that video had been brewing in my head for months and I just had to make it. So when it came time to make the script, it just flew out. Effortless, no problem. Very relaxing. And I feel very confident in the idea as well. And I'm like, yeah, this is how it should feel. This is the feeling that I should be aiming for when it comes to making videos. I want a calm work-life experience. And I also want to deliver value. And let's aim for this. I guess what I'm trying to say is I should be more careful about the ideas that I pick for my videos before I commit to making them. And making sure that they're aligned with the channel, with the audience, but then also with my own personal values in terms of how to make that. I just stopped. Don't force it. Pivot to something else. And that felt much better. Go in that direction. So as soon as I thought about making the library video, I just felt lighter, more relaxed, more at ease, more confident that the idea was good. And my talking points were really clear in my head. I should try and template that feeling to be, when I'm trying to think of ideas for new videos, how close does the feeling of making that video align to that template? Does it feel light? Does it feel relaxed? Do I feel confident that the audience will like it? Am I posting it on the right channel? Am I excited to make it? It's funny, because even in the process of writing the script for the other one, I was starting to be like, this is a heavy topic. I'm not going to feel great making this. that should be the first sign to stop. I guess the lesson for me is like life is already hard enough without forcing myself to do topics that I don't really want to do just because I think maybe it's trendy or maybe I should do it for some reason. Not everything needs to be pushed through, particularly with social media. When you hear people online talking about work, they talk about hustling and grinding. So it's quite easy to just normalize to yourself negative feelings. Like it's supposed to not feel comfortable. It's supposed to feel bad in a way, and you're just supposed to push through it. But as a creative, I don't agree with that. I mean, at times, of course, it doesn't feel good and you just need to push through. But it shouldn't always feel like that. I think it's important to differentiate the fear bad feelings from like trying something new and like having a little bit of anxiety, not sure how you're going to figure something out. This is a normal kind of fear versus your gut negative feelings of, I really don't want to do this. And if you force yourself to do something, like you might get a short-term win, but you won't sustain that activity long-term without making yourself miserable. So it's like, is it worth the cost of making yourself miserable? Is it worth doing if you're not going to keep doing it long-term? I've learned from my own experiences that most of the time, if you're not going to do it consistently over a long period of time, there's no point in there's no point crunching unless there's like some kind of like deadline coming shortly, like an exam, like a deadline for a customer or like a release or something like this. Okay, you can grind yourself for a bit, but it's not a successful long-term strategy for people. I think if you can find a balance where you're doing all the right things in your career, in your life, and you're okay with that or even enjoy them, then you're on the path for long-term success and happiness. Because there's no real reason why you should stop doing things that are getting you where you want to go. But if you're grinding, then everything in your body over time is going to tell you, stop, we hate this. That's what I learned from my video experience today. Trying to push myself to do something I didn't want to do when nobody else was asking me to do that. Question for the audience. What's the last thing you made yourself do that you didn't like doing that nobody asked you to do? I'm very interested to hear the answers. It doesn't have to be YouTube or podcast related. Let me know. Hope you have a good evening. Ciao.